Hello, this is Rubix, and today I will be continuing my story, The Gamer's Guide to Ever After. As usual, the previous recordings will be in the description below. But, yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into it. So, Chapter 6, Father Time. Glitch travels back to consciousness, finding it increasingly hard to breathe. It felt like their head was being cradled in somebody's chest. For whatever reason, it smelled hella good. Rising to their senses, Glitch's eyes begin to flutter open, and as the realm mourns her passing begins to play. And the reader will then see this graphic, from Glitch's POV. Damn. So even after 60 years, he still retains that resting bitch face when he's asleep. If only I had a marker, I'd so draw the classic monocle and mustache on him. Vacuuming that thought for later, Glitch feels their guts begin to wrench, and the air reeked of melancholy. A ceaseless downpour echoed and danced throughout the realm. And the reader will then see this graphic. Okay, sorry. Welcome to Paradiso. The skies will weep after she leaves. To think it's been 70 years since Makohine died. ... You stare at Loki a bit longer. And the reader will then see this graphic, except Loki actually opens his eyes. Oh, damn. You almost envied him for his good looks. Wait a minute. You're finally awake? Were you pretending to be asleep just now? Maybe. The bleak atmosphere pouring into their room made Glitch's soul feel queasy. They rolled themselves away from Loki and murmured, I'm still a bit tired. Give me 5 more minutes. Why did you leave? Eyes becoming bloodshot, Glitch tugs their annoyingly heavy sheets off and makes haste to the side of their sister's bed. I didn't mean to. Hey, Az! I shout, wrestling their shoulders awake. Evidently, our little brother heard our sister mourning in their sleep as he rose to his feet and looked around urgently. Eventually, my incessant rattling causes them to stir awake as they gasp for air. Tears streaming from their eyes like a broken pipe, their clammy hands press against their head as they rise from their pillow. They rub against their cheeks, using their wrists as Pablo hands them a pixelated tissue. Thank you. They dab their eyelids in a meek manner and sniffle loudly. It happened again, didn't it? Feeling better? I ask. Yeah, I'm good now. Then their droopy eyes sync with mine. What about you? You look like you slept really well, actually. Oh yeah, I'm doing fine. Pausing, I blink rapidly. I stroke my cheeks for any sign of dampness, and for the first time in years, I didn't cry in my sleep today. As the kingdom rises from its slumber, the Dragon siblings gather their bearings and make haste for the cafeteria. Amidst their visit, they'd requested extra servings since we're super hungry, under the guise of feeding a few extra mouths. The cooks took pity on the siblings, knowing who they were, and listened accordingly. Upon their return with 4 fresh meals, the 4 ate their breakfast together in silence. Neither sibling would dare to bring up any of the dreams they had that night. Okay, so time skipping here a bit. Hombrecito. Glitch starts. I left your favorite inside the mini fridge in case your hunger meters get low. Don't forget everything we taught you. Their sister chimes, like this wasn't the millionth time they've said this to Pablo. And we're off begins to play. A digital light bulb illuminates over Glitch's head. Pop quiz. What do you do if a lady with a weird butterfly mask walks in and endangers you and Loki? Pablo taps his eraser against his chin before writing down in his sketchbook. Use my real gun on her. No! Glitch exclaims. That's way too loud, Miguel. What was the other thing we taught you? Pablo takes an astronomical second to think about this before taking another stab at the question. Que mierda. Act like an egg. And then, with absolutely zero context, Glitch replies, Sí, muy bien, señor huevo. With his arms folded, Loki observes this little interaction, probably thinking something dumb like, Glitch cares a lot for the little brother. And in the sparkle text, nobody saw me eat the rat I found in their room just now. Esther swings their satchel over their head and fans their curls outward. Alright, we'll be back before you know it, Papito. And Pablo nods, already ecstatic for their return. He hops on top of Esther's bed and takes out his sketchbook, beginning a new heartfelt drawing. Residing near their bookshelf, Loki waits to see Glitch out before deadpanning at their sister. The red Joy-Con fist bumps Loki as a gentleness befell his eyes once more. Come back soon, okay? Come back soon, okay? Mocked Aster in that munchkin voice Glitch always hated. Aster and Loki have an intense glare-off before Aster motions for Glitch to come with. They pull out a novel from their bookshelf that was actually a secret lever. They watch as the entire shelf begins to slide out of the way, revealing a hidden passage, and Hibiscus in the Sky begins to play. Silence enraptured their atmosphere. The light that filtered from the balcony and windows were bleak. It almost never rains in Paradiso. Just like the misty blue skies that mysteriously vanished from the realm ever since their mother died. These rain clouds visit Paradiso every year. The realm mourns her sacrifice. Even the retainer of all disasters is not behind such a strange phenomenon. And Glitch spins around to finger gun Loki and Pablo before joining up with her sister. Esther then leads the way by safeguarding a ball of light in their hand, as the two embark on this inevitable side quest to see their uncle one last time. And the reader will then see this graphic once more. Loki and Pablo have left your party. And, okay. The gravity felt awfully heavy today, with every effort it takes to lift one foot after the other. Perhaps it's because there's so much on the line with how they're delaying their original plan to escape Paradiso, by squeezing in a bit of time to tell Uncle Cronus the truth about their stepmom. Actually, the thought of even calling that monster stepmom felt cruel in its own right. In spite of it all, Glitch couldn't shake off this feeling that there was more to it than just that. Perhaps it's because Kane had chosen to sacrifice herself the night after their birthday. The two of them happened upon their room's hallway, only this time they were behind those portrait-adorned walls. The Joy-Con siblings each pressed their faces against the peephole of a portrait, their animated eyes replacing the canvases. They spot Meadow on the other side, folding her hands in this polite manner. There's something about that cryptic smile on her face that suggested she had ulterior motives. Just a foot below her shoulders was Nova conversing with our maids, no less. The Joy-Con siblings listened to her chuckle with such intoxicating delight. Hey, yo, wait a minute. Nah, don't tell me they're trying to flirt with our mates. Is this how they plan on buying us time? And Meadow's attention begins to drift away. As her gaze happens upon the portrait, she then winks beneath her shades before her expression returns to sharp and cunning. It almost looked like she was trying to present herself as stoic and cool. And Broom begins to play. The two of them backtrack a few feet and redirect their eyes to that tiny speck of light illuminating the floor. And the reader would then see this graphic. It's a mussel. A self-proclaimed king of rats once ordered for there to be a gazillion of these scattered throughout the kingdom. That is, before he was sent to Inferno for causing Paradisor's greatest cheese outage. Thankfully, nobody has bothered to patch these up for the past 20 years. Otherwise, it would be such a pain for you and your sister to traverse the kingdom using just their normal heights. And Glitch rummages inside their hoodie pouch and hands their sister a tiny bottle swirling with green and purple infused liquids. It was Mom's old shrinking recipe. Their glasses clink with one another as their figures compress into tinier versions of themselves. Preparing to take off, they scurry across the hall without catching the blistering eye of any other staff. Nova and Meadow's positioning was nothing short of flawless, as none of the hustle and bustle bothered to even give them the time of day. And the second they duck their heads into a second mouse hole, Aster fixes them a ball of light to illuminate the dark. Silhouettes of insects scatter along the walls, while a few of them crawl out of hiding to survey their visitors. And the Joy-Con siblings then hoist themselves over a clutter of bricks, pulling each other up from one level to the next, and the siblings are then met with a pipe they ought to cross. Watch your step, it's a bit wet, Aster warns, and almost immediately, Glitch loses their balance as they fall over hard, the back of their head colliding against the cold end of the pipe. Fucking A, dude. That's gonna leave a nasty bump in the morning. Let's just hope we even live to see the next morning, their sister utters nonchalantly. They reach their hand out for Glitch and pull them back up. As Glitch shivers from the coldness of Aster's hand, eventually they cross paths with a ladder made up of staples and begin scrambling up the plank. And as they begin marching to the left, they overheard a conversation leaking through the cracks. Yo, Brody, did you hear about the intrusion last night, Lennyface? This shit's wild. Heard they had to amp up security since they're still looking for the dude. Yes, good. The Joy-Con siblings smile at each other in recognition of those dumb voices before proceeding. Eventually, the Joy-Con siblings reach a dead end. There's nothing but an abyss leading to nowhere. However, there was a set of gears grinding against the wall. Residing above those spinning bodies of metal was this fair-sized balcony, illuminating a faint yet shaky mirage of light. A bug-like silhouette steps in front of it before vanishing from the light. And they've reached their destination. And thereafter, Mr. Ant begins to play. Aster unfurls their parasol and takes to the dim-lit heavens as their brother kicks a warp star out of the ground and takes after their sister. Rising above the balcony fence, Glitch's slides become acquainted with a fuzzy rug. Surveying their surroundings, it was this familiar room full of office supplies, including paper clips, nails, along with shelves adorned with pots full of an assortment of different flowers. There's also that tiny violin they found in Mom's old room. Cradled inside a rocking chair was this life-sized ant just minding his own business, and he seemed preoccupied with the book in front of him, and the reader would then see this graphic. It's Mr. Ant. This ant just so happens to be one of your sister's first ever creations as a hibiscus. He seemed to be occupied with a book about ants. Aster sways their hand against the air as their inventory UI materializes before them. They begin scrolling past the different thumbnails and tap on one as a jar of sugar cubes wrapped in ribbon glimmers in Aster's hand. They place it on the ant's study desk and remark, "Thought of you while I was grabbing breakfast this morning." The ant sniffs the air. Eventually, he folds his book close and rises out of his rocking chair. Not really sure how he was supposed to express his gratitude, he simply waved his tiny bug arm at Aster. Which becomes reminiscent of how Aster would leave in the dead of night to study botany with the Mr. Ant. It was that weird arc of their sister's life that they rarely ever expressed to Glitch. Chuckling, their sister curtsies before it. It's been a pleasure knowing you too, Mr. Ant. And at present, Glitch loomed in front of this rather plasticky door, unsure of how they opened it last time. Suddenly, a shadowy figure rams itself against the door, causing it to fly into the room it led into as their sister dusts their hands and steps inside. And now, tick-tock begins to play. The siblings tiptoe into this life-size dollhouse. The plastic furniture surrounding them was resemblant of a living room. The view beyond this dollhouse was a room fit for a giant. Each intricacy donning this chaotic room felt like a clockwork fantasy. Typical of Uncle Kronos, Glitch thought. You simply couldn't stare in one area without seeing at least one rotating gear and a clock. In fact, there were so many clock variations scattered about the room that Glitch always wondered if they were there for aesthetics, or if Cronus was just really bad at telling time. Dot 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 dot. There's an old saying that goes, the ticking of clocks is merely the sound of Cronus's heartbeat. To this day, you still wonder if it was true. As Glitch's eyes fiddle around the room in search of their uncle, there he is. Sorry, I lied. Right now, I'm staring at that proud commission he told me about. A portrait of Leonardo da Vinci's greatest masterpiece, the Mona Lisa, and the reader will then see this interesting graphic. Yeah. Father Time in his golden days. Wait, the old fart went back in time for this? Hang on, is that tape? The longer you stare at this portrait that was anything short of glorious, you wondered if Da Vinci had actually turned down his commission. Classic Kronos. There he is, their sister declares as they descend to one knee and prop their parasol up like it's a sniper rifle. Stealing an eye, Aster pulls an invisible trigger over their handle as a quick beam of light strikes the old man slumped over his workbench. Wake up, Aster commands. Uncle Kronos coughs. Taking a few seconds to clear out his lungs, he wakes up in that cranky man fashion and scans across his chaotic room of clocks before his eyes fall upon a dollhouse. Itching his gray-kempt scalp, Cronus stomps closer to the siblings and readjusts his glasses. His eyes became wide with delight as he said, "Kids!" And the reader will then see this graphic. Your uncle, the god of time and the great incarnate, he was there for you after your mother's sacrifice. Unlike some fathers. Yeah. Hey, Uncle Kronos, the Joy-Con siblings express merrily, and Our Time Is Up begins to play. Okay. They both usher the old fart to levitate his head closer to the dollhouse as the siblings tenderly wrap their arms around their uncle's cheek. Solemnly, Aster begins, Uncle, we have something to tell you. Kronos pulls himself away from the dollhouse and surveys the anxious body language looming over his niece and nephew. He closes his eyes and says, That time already. Glitch started nodding their head as Aster shook their head no and copied their sister. Aster resumes, No, not that. We plan on leaving after we return to our room, but we came here to warn you about our stepmom. She's not who she says she is. She killed the original Envy. And this news causes Kronos' eyebrows to ascend to next year. One short and quickened lore dumpy and a roll of tissue paper later, In their eyes, we switch back over to Cinderella. Brother, help! It's trapped inside of a banner. No! Glitch. Oh, yeah. Esther concludes that's about the short of it. Uncle Kronos had a finger fixed over his lip as his eyes looked lost in thought. And in the sparkle text, I feel like I've heard about this from someone, but can't seem to remember who. I always feared something like this would happen, he begins abruptly, but the fact that you and your brother had to learn about this at such a young age. He reaches into his front pocket and pulls out a handkerchief, wiping the sweat off his brow. Children, what I'm about to say is very important, so lend me your ears. Esther leans at the edge of the dollhouse and swats their idiot brother's shoulder, who was too busy blowing bubbles while their sister recounted everything. You mustn't tell anybody about this, Kronos warns sternly. Well, you see, Glitch begins. We kinda, sort of, already told our friends about all this. And this causes Kronos' irises to shrink as the sound of shattered glass emits inside Aster's head. Who do you tell? He demands. Meadow and Nova, Glitch replies without a thought inside that head. The sound of shattered glass emits a second time, then a third, then a fourth. Finally, Aster snaps. You imbecile, would you stop playing with that stupid button? And Glitch lowers the aforementioned button behind their back and squeaks, sorry. Kronos pinches the bridge of his nose and closes his eyes. Okay then, let me put it this way. Don't tell anybody else. The second that Faker finds out that either of those children knows her secret, they'll have a red target on their back. And I don't think things will end well for little Nova's rep with her family either. Why do you say that? Glitch asks. I've always had a superstition that Revere could. Kronos pauses for a few more moments, massaging his beard. Finally, he warns, I'll tell you this instead. Be mindful of what you think around her. Beads of sweat begin to trickle down Aster's neck. Be mindful of what we think around her? No. Don't tell me he means mind in disarray, Aster queries. Uncle, if I'm understanding this correctly, you're telling us she could read minds this entire time? Their uncle nods slightly. It's merely a superstition I've had for... it's merely a suspicion I've had for quite some time. In fact, the goddess of balance shouldn't even possess the ability to glimpse into other people's minds in the first place. Even if she's been privately casting that decades-old spell we banned from Paradiso. Kronos begins stroking his braided beard. Detect thoughts, was it? A spell like that lets others know when their thoughts are being probed. Wait, fuck, Esther thought. When she saw us last night, what was I even thinking about? They begin to cycle through their scattered memories, before concluding that they probably didn't think of anything that would have given them away. Go. Hang on, did brother think of something that might have... Esther turned to their brother, and the reader would then see this graphic. No! Esther grips their brother tight as they try their damned hardest to stay calm. Brother, they hissed. What were you thinking about when we saw her last night? Glitch stumbles. I think it was when she opened the box. I was relieved and thought that there weren't any marigolds or eggs. Esther's eyes shrink to oblivion. Loki. No, more importantly, Pablo was in danger. Their fingers begin to curl tight inside the folds of their skirt. Suddenly, their uncle balls his hand into a fist and begins squeezing violently. He squeezes the edge of the table until his knuckles turn white. Eventually, it worsens to the point where he is excessively hacking his lungs out as he falls to his knees. Uncle! The siblings cry. Kronos' onslaught of coughs finally ceased as he peers over his hand. Origin blood. Tears begin to blur Aster's vision as they urgently request, Quick, draw something sharp so I can give him my blood. And immediately, a hand thrusts thrusts itself over the dollhouse, like he was telling them to stop. Their uncle sniffles, still collecting his breath as he wheezes. "I'll be just fine." Then a flowy "hoo" evades his lips. Rubbing the blood onto his overalls, he fixes a glance at the two of them and firmly states, "I refuse to ingest even an ounce of blood from my niece and nephew." Sniffling, Glitch wails, "Why can't you just be greedy for once?" And Kronos shakes his head weakly and says, "Greed is how I ended up like this, son." And he pauses for a few more moments before adding, "Listen, kids, you don't have much time." "No. Leave. You have to leave Paradiso now. Return to your room at once and gather the marigold and your little brother before it's too late." "I don't want to say goodbye. Kronos," I fumble. Sniffling, our uncle murmurs, I know. You hate when I say goodbye. I can't thank you enough for how much you made this old-timer feel at home." Then he pauses. "Now, it's time for the two of you to discover a place of your own." And Kronos extends a gentle hand and rustles my hair with his index, and this forces a shaky giggle out of me. Then he continues, "Stick to that stubbornness of yours, Asterella. Your mother used to be the same back when the seven of us ventured together." And he hasn't called me that in a while. I kinda liked it more than Aster. Kronos turns to my brother and fixes a finger at them. "And as for you, young man, youngster. Stars, I need to keep up with the times." And this evokes a wide grin out of Glitch as Kronos continued, "Do us all a favor and listen to your sister, will ya?" And their shoulders begin to slump as I stick my tongue out at them. Chuckling, our uncle continues, "Keep your head up, kid. You may discover some ugly truths you won't like. But don't let any of that stop you. Simply put, be the warp star to your sister's Kirby. Understood?" My brother wipes the tear off their face and salutes our uncle. "Don't worry about this old timer," Uncle reassures. "Try to throw her off your tail if she comes my way." And as the two of us waved that old timer goodbye, no, until next time, he would have loved that. As me and Glitch waved our uncle till next time, Kronos calls out to us, "Kids, wait." We turn back to him. "Tell La Muerte's son I'm proud of him too." In the sparkle text, my memories may be a bit fuzzy, but I still remember that kid's face. Without asking, my brother nods as the two of us hurriedly trace our steps back to our quarters. And in the sparkle text, "I hope you never have a day in your life where you worry about this old timer. Leave it to your uncle to hold the fort down for now. But as for your father, I'll need to investigate this matter on my own time." The hour hand waits for no one. They're 1 and 2. Okay. So, time skipping here a little. Let me lower this tab. Time skipping here a little. The Joy-Con siblings push their bookshelf out of the way as their noodly legs waltz back to their room. Breathing heavily, Glitch wheezes, Loki, we're back." Oof! And a Humpty Dumpty-sized egg tackle hugs Aster's brother straight into the hidden passageway as its legs start wiggling crazily. Not sure if you could call it a tackle hug since, again, Pablo doesn't have any arms. Wheezing for air, Glitch pries one eye open and winces, "Glad to see you too, mi hombre." Behind Aster, they can hear the sound of somebody pressing their feet against the carpet. They spin around and see that it was just that orange-eyed prick, standing there with his arms folded, not really paying attention to Aster. As hearty as this reunion was, the clock's ticking, and it wasn't Kronos' beating heart this time. "Listen, we don't have much time," Aster warns. We have to leave Paradiso, now! And Loki's irises diminish as his gaze draws elsewhere. I hear somebody's footsteps. Somebody's coming. Okay. Crap, we've been gone for so long that... fuck, no time to think. You too, Aster hisses. Hide. And upon hearing this, Glitch repixelated next to Aster as they began to shove the bookshelf back into place, leaving a confused little brother inside the hidden passageway. In the blink of an eye, Loki's shadow slithers behind the Hawaii portrait, blank, made for them. The footsteps become ever-present as Glitch darts across the room and brings their magic cuff dupes out of a box. They hastily hand Aster theirs as their wrists become bound, and making haste, the siblings scramble to the center of the room and fast a forced smile at whoever was coming their way. My darlings, a dreadfully familiar voice hollers on the other side, and Aster's heart begins to sink. What? No, what is she doing here? Don't think begins to play. Bursting into their room was the Envy incarnate herself. Coincidentally, the cuckoo bird sprang out of its tiny door and chirped, "Cuckoo, cuckoo." And in the sparkle text, glad Mr. Bird is doing alright. Revere studies the mechanical bird's repulsive behavior as she turns her attention back to her darlings, quote-unquote. Tiptoeing behind her were these two cute maids pushing clothing rackets on wheels along the carpet. They were the same ones that Nova and Meadow were flirting with. Gritting their teeth, Aster asks, "Mother, what brings you here?" "Oh, I came to ensure that my lovelies were promptly dressed after discovering that these two lovely maidens were infatuated with other matters." A blurry apparition of two familiar silhouettes catches Aster's attention as they see Nova and Meadow idling in the hallway. Something about the disarray painted on Nova's face indicated "we tried" before the two of them marched out of view. Given the immensity of today's occasion, all Paradisans are expected to wear black in honor of the two celestial beings that sacrificed themselves to eradicate Origin. And the reader will then see this graphic. Vivian's attire was truly a spectacle. She was fashioned head to toe in a frilly black dress that twinkled faintly if you saw her from the right angle. Something about her dress felt almost alive. As Aster's vision magnified over Revere's dress a bit closer, they spotted delicate hints of fluttering, and a deviled smirk creases Aster's lips, and the reader will then see... in the sparkle text, "My, you look as ravishing as a mutilated chicken in a bow." Revere clapped her hands in commencement, and gingerly ordered, "Well, get to it, ladies. We have a ceremony to catch in under 30 minutes now." Following their goddess's order, the two maids retreat into the siblings' closet and swerve two tall mirrors in front of Glitch and Aster. Before Aster notes the bead of sweat dripping down their maid's brow, as she was concentrating on tightening Aster's corset, and the siblings could briefly see one another in their reflection. Aster noted the hesitance in their brother's glare, as their own gaze softened into a smile of, "It'll be okay." 1 second. Okay. Glitch quickly receives this message as the stress in their eyes begins to fade, and they reciprocate their sister's empathy with an impish grin. Out of the blue, Revere strolls about the room as their fingers begin to play hopscotch along the shelves, to the cabinets, and in the sparkle text. What is she looking for? There's something daunting about the way Revere whimsically carried herself. It was almost like she was playing a twisted mind game of hot and cold, but with her minds. Like a hawk stalking its prey, my Joy-Con siblings have been quietly observing their stepmother's every move. Though something about this scenario felt like it was actually the other way around. Eventually, the clack of Revere's heels come to a halt as she pauses in one place and whams her fist into the wall, causing one of the children's favorite drawings to pop out. Your fist clenched tightly as you surveyed what she had dropped. The reader will then see this graphic. A drawing you and your brother treasured dearly, and this witch punched it out of the wall. One of the maids fumbles for words and asks, Madam, is everything alright? Evia turns over her shoulder and reveals a twitching mosquito on her glove. Thoroughly unamused, she says, a mosquito? Quaint. And in the sparkle text, this woman is testing my patience. If she lays even a hand on that drawing. As her eyes met with Glitch and Aster's, she dully notes the bloody murder surging in their eyes, and asks, Now, why the long face? It's not like I destroyed your little sketch. The envy incarnate kneels gracefully and plucks the drawing up from the carpet. She then reinserts the pushpin. Without a hint of regret, she declares, There, good as new. Without bothering to examine the contents of the drawing, her footsteps carry her along the room once more. And, yeah. You could feel your irises shrink until there was nothing left but a minuscule dot. A million tiny thoughts begin swarming inside your head, like a bed of wasps had been swung at with a baseball bat. As you search for your brother's gaze, you notice how equally intense their face was. Seconds later, Revere's listless wandering around the room eventually ceased. You glance in her direction as you spot the portrait Mom painted for you, and the reader will then see this graphic once more. No! Revere extends a tender hand towards the portrait as she begins to gingerly caress the side of the frame. Aster felt their heart palpitating, as their fingers became as cold as ice. The hottie tying the corset around their waist did not make this feeling any better. It takes every ounce of Aster's being not to blow their cover, as they distract themselves with mundane thoughts, and in the sparkle text, peanuts, hot girls eating peanuts, and in the sparkle text, I hear her on the other side. If she opens this portrait, I'll hypnotize her. But if even that doesn't work, then I'll have to suck her soul from her body. Then, as Revere begins to slide her fingers underneath the portrait, she pauses, almost as if she was hesitant. Madame Envy retreats slowly, but surely away from the painting, each step in her heel as soft and undetected as the next. A wave of relief cools the atmosphere. Your children are ready, Madame Envy, a feminine voice declares. Revere spins around and claps her hand twice. Affection, she says, as her eyes flutter from sibling to sibling. Seems the seamstress never lost her touch. My darlings look as dolled up as a bouquet. She holds the folds of her skirt as she turns to leave and beckons. Come along now, children. We have a ceremony to attend. Let's get this over with, the siblings gloomily thought. And the two of them monotonically reply, Yes, mother, before trailing after her. So that will bring us to the end of this chapter. Okay. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!